Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Earle Hall on the line, and he's CEO of AXES.ai. Earle, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
All right, Earle. So excited to get into today's topic. So we'll talk about FinTech's role in the future of casino gaming. But before we do that, we'll start this episode off the way that we start them all with our Mission Matters Minute. So Earle, we at Mission Matters amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Earle, what mission matters to you?
Only one, really. It's a very simple one. Been 10 years in the making, if you can believe it, but it's to make the land-based gaming industry safe first, fun second, because it really cannot be fun if it's not safe. So how do we do that? It's pretty simple. Our job is to bring our mission, our job, same thing for me, is to bring legitimacy to the gaming industry, to the land-based gaming industry through traceability and through transparency of transactions. That's really the baseline from which we've built everything that we do. And that's really what matters the most to us, because at the end of the day, you either have a job and you go to work, or you have a mission that matters. Well, at Access, our mission really matters. And really what we're trying to build or create is to leave a legacy of a much more transparent, a much more legitimate, and a much safer industry, so that people can have fun, because there is no potential for money laundering. There is no potential for addictive gambling, because you have to call it gambling when there's no guardrails. It cannot be gaming unless it's safe. So that's what we do.
It's great. Love bringing mission-based individuals on the line to share why they do what they do, like what motivates them to make a difference in the marketplace. So I'm excited to dive deeper into AXES.ai and also the idea of gaming and how to make it safe. But where did all this start for you? Like, how did you go on this path of FinTech and gaming? Like, where'd that begin?
The genius of Access came from trying to solve a problem about 12 years ago in the industry, where there were some laws that changed that required transactions to be stored, traced. And there was the very first laws being enacted in certain countries for cashless gaming. When I say cashless, in those days, it was smart cards. In other words, no cash on a casino floor. You had to go to a cashier's desk. You had to get a card, you had to load the card up, and then head out to the machine, which creates a very traceable gaming session. Yeah. We were asked and invited to be able to solve that problem in the country of Mexico when their new law came online. And this is way back before cloud was cool. But considering the crazy bunch of geniuses at Access, we thought cloud was the simplest and the easiest way to go.
Wow.
So back in 2006-07, the startup was really underway. 2008.
That's really early, by the way. So you said this is 2006 or 7 is when you were thinking about cloud?
When we were actually programming cloud, yes.
Wow, that's pretty early.
Now, 2008, the product started to come to life. 2009, we had reporting servers. We had alert servers. This is all in the cloud, of course. Then we had a cashless server. And from there, 2010, 2011, we got a great foothold and started to expand to where today we're in over 40 countries around the world.
Wow, what an amazing story. And seeing, it all started from an idea, right? Like all businesses, but it all started from an idea. And in this case, you were looking to solve a problem. Now, there's some individuals out there that are, entrepreneurs, would-be entrepreneurs. Maybe they're not quite as far along in their journey as you are with AXES.ai, but it all started again with you from an idea. So The difference here in this case is that you took that idea, you took that problem, and you went to solve it and created a company around it. And as you mentioned, now in over 40 countries. Going from idea to execution or implementing that solution, it's a very tricky thing. And whether it's in FinTech, whatever your product is, whatever the solution is that you're trying to come up with, what would be your advice to the entrepreneurs out there that are all working, let's just say, on their own problems and on their own solutions, and how to go over from that, like that concept, that idea, to actual implementation? Like, what kind of things would you tell them?
Oh, so simple. First of all, I always see these debates on LinkedIn between bootstrapping an organization and going for angel investors.
Yeah.
All I can say is, first of all, the amount of money you're going to need to succeed is a direct coefficient of how you dare to dream. If your dream is small, maybe you don't need angels around you. But if you dare to dream big, you need a very solid, a very intelligent, very poised individuals around you. And if you want to know what the secret weapon of Access is, it's simple. It's our team. That's a given. Products are secondary to people in a real company.
Yeah.
But the real secret to being an entrepreneur is you have to find that angel, that investor, that seasoned, successful person that can see through the fog to say, yep, this dream actually has a shot at making it. And if I put our team aside for a second, the reason why Access is where it is today, and the reason why I'm sitting here today, is because I have the strongest board of directors and the best shareholders I've worked with in my entire career. They saw 10 years ago what we are starting to deploy today, if you can believe it. And they haven't lost faith ever once. And every time we needed new financing rounds, more capital injections, hitting obstacles left, right, and center, they were the calming force for us to continue the fight. So that's a long answer, but the short answer would be to an entrepreneur: if you're smart, don't go it alone. Find that hand that can stay on your shoulder, so that you can fight the fight and you have the angels behind you, making sure that you can run the marathon. Because building a company is not a sprint. Well, it is. It's a series of sprints, 24 hours a day. But building a company is really a marathon. And to do that, you need a very seasoned, strong, and believing angels around you, like Access does. Our shareholder base is absolutely unbelievable.
So great advice there, and a great story. So going a step further into today's topic, so the future of FinTech and what that looks like, and the role of casino gaming and this whole, cash to cashless system. I mean, you've been involved with it for quite some time now. Obviously, it's a big deal. Like you said, you're implementing it now, but now it's in the news, it's in the headlines. Changes in laws making change for gaming, making it maybe more accessible. So a lot of movement recently in the last year or two. So what is this? What are you seeing in the landscape right now that just really interests you?
Well, first of all, and one of the faults of my personality, when I get asked the question, I always give the answer. I don't butter it up. So first of all, what we're seeing is what always happens. We're seeing a level of ignorance. So first of all, cashless is really two different things. Cashless, closed loop cashless, and open loop cashless. Very simply put, the casino industry has been built since day one on a closed loop system. In other words, you walk into a casino, you either deposit your money, you put it on deposit, you put it into their bank account, you insert it into a machine, it goes into a cash box. They have their own float, casino float. That's a closed loop system. When we built Access, what we did to respect the industry is we built a closed loop system to mirror all of the processes, everything that's already done, but bring them on a more efficient transportation system. That's all. Now what we have, cash carries COVID. Everybody knows that. So during COVID, the land-based gaming industry started to say, maybe it's time to go out into the real world and bring the real world in, which is really cool. And the best example we have of that is Starbucks. Starbucks is probably the best example of a closed loop system using open loop providers to bring money into the system.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have in 2022 now is every open loop fintech provider in the world trying to figure out how to get into the gaming industry. Because you're just not going to show up to the gaming industry, hey, I have an app. You can take money out of your bank account and you can bring it into the casino. Where are you going to bring it? Are you going to bring it to the cashier's cage? Are you going to bring it to the machine? How's it going to get inside of the closed loop system? So it's exciting to see. I get on average one email every 3 to 4 days from an open loop cashless fintech from New York, from London, from Singapore, saying, hey, apparently you're the largest closed loop cashless provider in the world. That is true. 5 million players in real time, $15, $16 million a day going through our server, about 23 to 26 million transactions a day on our cloud. Yes, we're the biggest closed loop provider. But the open loop people that are coming will have to adapt to our industry to make sure that their money transportation system meets all of the rules, all the regulations, all of the patents, and everything else that's coming. So we're in an exciting moment. Everybody's knocking on the door of the land-based casino industry. It makes me very happy because cashless means KYC. So cashless, fintech is cashless. Cashless equals know your client, which means we're on the cusp of the gaming industry becoming a traceable event, which is what makes our heart beat. Because when things are traceable, that means legitimacy comes to the forefront.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. Mission matters. That's our mission. It's legitimacy.
And so how does this affect really the traditional land-based casino? Is it more opportunity? I mean, tell me a little bit more about how that affects the traditional system.
At this point in time, I'd say there's a threat. And the threat is that the open loop providers that are showing up, what they're trying to provide is an app that will allow the person to directly cash into the slot machine and then go away, which really undermines the entire business model of the gaming industry. And that's what we steered away from. We kept getting asked, Earle, why don't you take money from bank accounts and put it right into the casino? I said, well, that's not how the casino industry works. The casino industry works is that people come in with their money and the money is deposited inside of a closed loop. Just the way Starbucks works. You have your credit card on your Starbucks app. But if you're smart and you want loyalty points, what you do is you transfer the money from your credit card over to the closed loop app that Starbucks has. Once you're inside of their app, their environment, their closed loop, then you can go out and buy your lattes and all that stuff everybody buys, but you're inside of the closed loop environment, and the open loop is just the money transportation system. So right now, the threat is that some casinos that don't understand this dichotomy of open has to stay outside, closed loop is what you already have, and technologies like Access just make it more efficient. There is a threat that some casinos will go directly open loop, which will be a threat to their own existence in the long term because their casino float, their money on deposit will be sent to the open loop, which is the dream of an open loop company. And that's really the education that we offer because we can do open and closed loop. We chose closed for a very simple reason, is that we were trying to protect the casino operators to make sure that their money on deposit or their float is the word they use, that it belongs to them. So that's the reason why we chose closed. We will start offering a form of open loop in the future as ATM machines go away, as direct deposit goes away and all that stuff. So as the fintech industry becomes more efficient, we will start adding on features to mirror what other industries are doing. But our primary role is to protect the player first from themselves. Our secondary role is to protect the casinos from the players because there's money launderers, there's addictive gamblers, there's organized crime, there's all kinds of things that hang out, and it's our job to keep them away. And then it's our job to make sure that the casinos are as legitimate and transparent as they can be, so that they are a upstanding segment or sector inside of a state or a province's total economy. So we have three really missions inside of our core mission. One is for the society, the other one is for our clients, and the third one is for the actual consumers, or what they call the players.
So speaking of traceability and like a lot of change that's happening right now in the industry, just overall, like how does the blockchain and crypto fit into this cast of characters?
That's a great question, because if you don't mind, I'd like to separate those two, because
Absolutely,
it's kind of like saying an ATM machine and fiat currency. The ATM machine is the physical transportation system. So all blockchain is a network of computers, highly secure, to be able to transport information, transactions, because information is a transaction, around a network in a highly secure manner. So how does blockchain fit into this? Well, there's something going on in Europe right now that affects me very deeply, psychologically, physically, mentally. The genocide that's going on in Ukraine right now. Well, as people have seen about a week or two before the genocide started and ongoing now, the cyber war has increased exponentially. And the most unsafe place you can be on this planet right now is by having a local server. So if you have a server on your property, if you're dealing with in a client server environment, if you're not cloud right now, you're in a lot of trouble for the next 3 years, because when you're in a client server environment, it's 10 times easier to penetrate and to hack. But when you're in the cloud, you're still vulnerable, because security is never 100%. So we had blockchain back in the Army, a form of blockchain. And in today's world, if you're using one of the premier blockchains, like the Microsofts, the IBMs, the AWSs, the Cardanos out there. So if you're using these things that are out there, and if you noticed, I didn't mention Ethereum and I didn't mention Bitcoin. I stay away from those two. Ethereum is in an amazing maturation moment right now. I can't wait to see what's happening this summer. And Bitcoin is Bitcoin. But that being said, blockchain is the only 100% way to ensure security of information right now, because if it's done right, you can put infinite random generated passwords in and around information and financial transactions, so that it's just not financially or physically viable to try to hack. So that's what blockchain is. We've been using blockchain for, I don't know, 5 years now, just to make sure that the core, the transactional core of who we are is safe. That being said, cryptocurrency, there's a lot of noise around cryptocurrency, but all cryptocurrency is a new form of payment. So it's a new bartering tool. In 10 years, we won't even be talking about cryptocurrency anymore. We'll be talking about, do you remember the days of paper?
Yeah.
Because paper is the most inefficient way of purchasing something on this planet. The risk of money laundering, the risk of reproducing paper is infinite.
Yeah.
Whereas cryptocurrency is one of the very most safe ways of making a transaction. The only thing is that because of the fact that cryptocurrency started out with a heavy organized crime base, it took a long while for the cryptocurrency exchanges, the e-wallets, the exchanges where you can buy and sell cryptocurrency. It took a long while for them to get their KYC, know your client, processes up to speed. But if anybody has Coinbase, they just did a great update at the beginning of this month. By the time we hit 2025, we won't even be thinking about cryptocurrency or digital
Mm-hmm.
currency because we'll have both. 95% of transactions in 2 years will all be e-wallet based.
Mm-hmm.
And cryptocurrency will be mainstream because we will have gone from anonymous transactions to KYC-based transactions. And the
Mm-hmm.
casino industry has the same problem. But they have it with fiat currency. They have it with paper, not crypto.
Mm-hmm.
So people walk in and out of casinos all the time. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know where the money came from. You don't know if it smells bad. You don't know if it smells good. That's really the base of the struggle for legitimacy in the casino industry.
Mm-hmm.
But as cashless shows up, the path to legitimacy is automatic. And once you're in a path of legitimacy and you are cashless,
Mm-hmm.
the difference between an inbound fiat transaction from your bank account or an inbound Bitcoin transaction,
Mm-hmm.
there's zero difference because both of them have to be KYC'd with your passport, your driver's license, maybe your light bill, and maybe 3, 4, 5 touch points. You will see in the very, very near future a standard emerge, which
Mm-hmm.
will be called your KYC credibility score, where the more you can prove who you are, the more
Mm-hmm.
legitimate you are to do a transaction.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah. I
means
would.
whether you're cashing Ethereum or you're cashing in $500 from an anonymous gift card, well,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really matter because the KYC onus is on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that you say this. As we just accepted our first here at Mission Matters, accepted our first transaction from crypto through crypto, and when I was setting up, the business account and all that, I went through Coinbase, I think it was, and they and when I was thinking about back into my finance days. So for those that have been watching the show for a long time, I was in finance for almost 14 years. Now I've been in media now going on 5-6 years full time, but when I was answering all those questions and all those other things, it reminded me of like a bank application, like just like a bank application. And when I was thinking about the know your client rules back from my banking days and all the things that I had to do when I would be opening up an account for a client, like I didn't notice much difference. I mean, for a very basic bank account in this case, and I didn't notice much difference. And I was like, oh, getting back to that concept of traceability and everything that you're talking about, like this makes sense. And especially for the legitimacy of the accounts, the accounting part of it, the taxes that have to be paid, all those other things that come in line with accepting a different type of currency for a product, in this case that we did. I think it's interesting. And I think you're right. Like, I don't know how many years or the timeline, but in the near future, we'll be looking at it, and it won't be whether it's a crypto transaction or another, whatever. It'll just be like another account, really, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the way we set up our e-wallet for our
Mm-hmm.
clients, is that you can click on your bank account, your credit card, you can click on your cryptocurrency. Why? Because as our clients move towards a bridge between
Mm-hmm.
closed and open loop cashless, we want to ensure that we're the gatekeeper for KYC, because a shout out to the gaming industry. We have many thousands of people working worldwide in state and local governments, creating tremendous regulation and policy so that any employee, any supplier, any technology company in the gaming industry, they must go through a tremendous, rigorous process that some jurisdictions require 10 years of bank statements, 5 years of bank accounts, credit cards. It's really a legitimate process. I'm very proud to be in the gaming industry for the incredible extreme level of legitimacy that the states and the provinces run their operations for people to work in the industry. The next step, and it's companies like AXES that have to lead this charge, is pushing that level of legitimacy out to the actual players, because the players that have nothing to hide already have a Facebook. They're already publishing their meal
Mhm.
from last night. They're checking in on the strip, showing that they're having a good time.
Mhm.
They have their GPS on for their Starbucks and their Uber app. So
Yeah.
they're already KYC'd as much as you could ever believe.
Mhm.
So the lion's share, the majority of the players in mass gaming and the regular gaming
Mhm.
floors, they're already KYC'd by their smartphone anyway.
Mhm.
So they have nothing to hide. So one of the submissions we have at Access is bridging that gap between the real world
Mhm.
of the vast majority of players that are already KYC through Facebook, through
Mhm.
Uber, through all of those other apps, and just making sure that they come into the gaming industry and they're recognized
Mhm.
because they're safe. They want to be kept safe, and they only
Mhm.
have one mission. They want to have fun.
Yeah, it's great. So what type of focusing a little bit more on AXES.ai. I mean, tell us a little bit more about the company and exactly like the types of companies that you work with.
So we have three different types of clients, and
Mhm.
just to say, we started off this company with the same vision that Apple had. So
Mhm.
we wanted to build our own IoT device, get it inside of the slot machines, so
Mhm.
that we could control the security, the speed, the legitimacy, and the traceability of all of the data. That
Mhm.
was a lot of work. It was about 4 years, a couple of really amazing geniuses in our team that got our IoT practice to the highest degree. Then we worked very hard on the cloud side because as Apple built their iPhone, the real vision behind the iPhone was to get the data.
Mhm.
Because once you have the data and you have true data that can't be tampered with,
Mhm.
then you can build alert systems. Like we have a full alert package. If anybody tampers with the machine, cuts a wire, does anything illicit,
Mhm.
automatically bells and whistles go off in people's phones and on our management
Mhm.
consoles and stuff like that. Then once you get past the business analytics package that we have,
Mhm.
you get to our app store where you have cashless and all the other things we have. We
Mhm.
had a vision that was unfortunately or fortunately 10, 15 years ahead of the whole industry. The
Mhm.
cool thing is people are starting to catch up to us. A shout out to the government of Poland, the head of gaming in the government of Poland. Some people hailed him as crazy back then, about 7 years ago. Other people hailed him as a visionary. But he decided that he was going to bring online the very first real time, cashless, cloud, blockchain, KYC, anti money laundering system for the government of Poland.
Wow.
And even crazier than that, he chose us to do it. So uh, the government of Poland really has the most advanced central monitoring system in the world. We
Mhm.
love working with governments because a government's first and most important mandate is to protect the citizens from themselves and from others. So
Mhm.
that was a really crazy, amazing thing that we got to do in Poland. Then we got to bring them up on a real time countrywide FinTech solution, which
Mhm.
was real time cashless for the entire country.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that was a lot of fun. So we served the government market first. We served the casino market, and shout out to Native America in the United States. The Native
Mhm.
American market is a very sophisticated market at the forefront, looking for cashless, looking for anything to get
Mhm.
them to the next level. It's very impressive to see how Native America is fighting towards the forefront. Their
Mhm.
Chairman Ernie Stevens, is quite the visionary. And third but not least, the market that I absolutely love.
Mhm.
It's called the route and street market. So
Mhm.
it's corner stores, it's restaurants, it's bars. That's probably the most unsafe part of the market.
Mhm.
It's because before Access showed up, it was cost prohibitive to put cutting edge systems in place to
Mhm.
protect that market. There's markets right now, like the state of Georgia in the United States and other
Mhm.
markets, that are fighting very hard for legitimacy, fighting very hard for
Mhm.
transparency and traceability. And we serve that market as well. Because we're cloud, it's the same work for us to install one machine in one location or
Mhm.
1,000 machines in one location. It's the same thing. We
Yeah.
plug in our IoT device and everything else has gone to the cloud.
It's awesome. And Earle, I guess a big question for you. So a lot of this conversation has been around, obviously, the know your client rules. It's been around anti-money laundering and kind of keeping everybody safe, right? Do you think it's possible for the industry, for the gaming industry, to evolve to be a safe industry where these things are all possible, where we know your client part and the anti-money laundering part? Like, do you think that's possible in the near future?
100%. Without a doubt, 100%. It's in cement. First of all, you have the university, you have UNLV here in Las Vegas. Craig and his team, they are solely focused on educating and bringing all of the regulators, the policymakers to that point. You have the International Association of Gaming Regulators, Jason, their president, is a visionary in this field as well. Peter DeRayet at the International Gaming Standards Association has been working on this for 15 years.
Yeah.
And now we have the Government Blockchain Association that's bringing out a blockchain maturity model. Before, there was no technology to do this. So you could want to do this 10 years ago, but the cost of trying to do this. And then AXES showed up with a very affordable IoT device to put inside of a machine. The rest is in the cloud. And then the regulators all showed up and rallied around it. And then UNLV showed up, the educators. So once you have the policymaker, once you have the educators, once you have the standards organizations, all you need then is technology. So we're in a perfect storm right now. The recipe is on the table to make the greatest pie in the history of KYC.
Yeah.
I absolutely see no reason why you're going to not see the gaming industry, the land-based gaming industry, being the beacon of KYC in the next 2 to 3 years.
Wow, it's amazing. So Earle, I just have to say, I learned a lot from listening to you and about gaming, what's happening next, and I hope the audience did as well. I know you're busy and you're in the middle of it all. I think you said the perfect storm was your words over at AXES.ai and all the changes that are going on. So I just have to ask, what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for AXES.ai?
Our mission is probably going to continue the same as it is today for the next 2 to 3 years, which is educate, educate, educate. Yeah. One of my greatest mentors, her name is Jumana from Microsoft. She said to me, never sell, always educate. The best sell is the greatest education. So I say we still have 2 or 3 years more of educating. In that time, we have new divisions coming online, like a media division. Yeah. We have virtual POSs coming out. We've got a whole bunch of products coming out this year. Now that the market is ready to consume them, they've been in our lab forever, but we wanted to make sure, out of respect, that we brought things out at the right time. And 2022 is a very pivotal year in the gaming industry worldwide. So this year is the year we're probably going to hit the gas and roll out more products than we've done before, just because COVID has brought a level of maturity, a level of receptiveness, and an ease to work with technology, because everybody was isolated, everybody was virtual, everybody was cashless. That catalyst for us is really the inflection point where over the next 3 years, we'll take our rightful place in the industry where we started out 10 years ago.
What a great story. So Earle, if somebody's watching this and they want to learn more about AXES, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
All my friends and I hang out at AXES.ai. I'm pretty prolific on LinkedIn, so I'm easy to find there. Once again, we take our role of education very, very seriously. They're the 2 easiest ways to find me. And as my mother once said, you're way too easy to find on Google. So that's another way as well. But at the end of the day, anybody that really needs me always finds me. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Fantastic. And for the audience, we'll put all of that information in the show notes as well for this episode. So you could just click on it and head right on over and check out AXES.ai. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters, we're a platform dedicated to really amplifying the voices and the messages of business owners and entrepreneurs that are out there looking to make a difference. They're out there in the marketplace doing great things. And if that's the type of content that you like or that excites you, then we definitely welcome you to hit that subscribe button, because we have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And Earle, really, it has been a pleasure. Thanks a lot again for coming on the show, and wishing you much more continued success with AXES.ai.
Thank you very much. I was grateful.